welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome as well to one of my favourite, messiest videos of Halloween 2025. I'm calling these my Forest Witch Apothecary pendants because, oh my goodness me, we are getting crazy messy with some moss in today's video. Now, I do have these UVDTFs from Amanda Towgood, and at the time of filming, I was going to use them. I ended up not using them, but don't worry, I do use them very, very soon in an upcoming video. Now, I am going to be using the round pendant mould from Moulds and Shapes. I'm not too worried about getting it clean at this point, I'm not gonna lie, because we're putting moss inside it. So I only really got out the big bulky bits with a little bit of tape before we started off. Now, before we do anything, we need to make these. This is the Finnabair Apothecary bottle mould. Do you remember last year I destroyed my apothecary bottle mould by making silicone inlays one too many times and left it for a few days before I demolded, and I absolutely destroyed the mould. So if you make silicone inlays in these molds, make sure you demold the silicone 8 hours later, no more than like 24 hours later. Anytime after that, it's going to fuse, so do be careful. Now, I am going to be using the Let's Resin Intense Chameleon powders to colour my bottles. I want dark, think forest, think dark, foggy, misty, eerie forest, think gloomy, think mud, think earth. That is what I'm going for. Now, I'm only colouring the smallest bottles. These huge bottles are just not going to fit in the pendants, so I'm not looking at those at all, even though they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. I do use these, guys, in another upcoming video because I fell so in love with the results from these. I have made a huge version of them using a big round tray. I just could not get enough. I'm just all about the forest. I'm all about that just misty, call it, you know, twilight, call it whatever you want. It's all about the forest witch right now. So into these, I'm using, like I said, the intense chameleon powders from Let's Resin. You can see just how deep these colours are. That green, the gold, all together, stunning, just stunning. We've got that grungy, earthy appearance in these bottles already. Now, to fill these up, you can of course use your epoxy resin, or if you wanted to, you could use your eco pouring medium. It's really entirely up to you. I am going to be using the FC3680. This is black polyurethane from MB Fiberglass. 30-second mix time, 30-minute demold time, which means I can then crack on with the pendants in super fast time instead of waiting for epoxy resin to fully, you know, get to the point where I can demold it. Now this two-part, sorry guys, two-part AB equal by weight, 1-to-1. I don't know if I said that round the right way. 1-to-1 by weight, so super simple, and then mix. I didn't mix up too much, but I still made up too much. I just wanted a little bit because these bottles, believe it or not, do not take very much at all. But here we are. I ended up just pouring the excess into another mold, and you do have to work fast, act fast with this polyurethane. It sets super fast. You can see there I nearly filled up the big bottle, and I was like, no, we don't want the big bottle. But yeah, I love this mold. I am so heavily obsessed with this mold because once you dust it with mica or chameleon, they already look 3D. Depending at what angle you film them at, they look like they're coming towards you, you know? Stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah, speeding this up for you guys, you don't need to see this. It ends up getting really messy. Like, I don't know why I tried to be neat. I figured just get it in there because we don't have the luxury of time with the polyurethane, right? So yeah, just get it done. In the end, I'm just like, I'll just pour it, and then just scrape it. So all of this effort to try and stay neat at the beginning all goes out the window when panic sets in, and you've got no choice but to get it in there. Now, the best way for me to do this is just grab my lollipop stick and just drag it along the surface of the mold. That's going to shift some of that polyurethane into other bottles, but also it's going to just neaten it up when you demold. Otherwise, you're going to get thick, hunky, chunky spillovers at the edges, and you definitely don't want that. Now, the resin I'm using in today's video is the Apex resin. I will leave that linked below. Super gorgeous, crystal clear resin. This day was particularly cold, and you can see it as well. You can see the resin. There's such a difference in when I've had the radiator on in my craft room and when I haven't. And also if the sun is shining through the window, it makes such a huge difference as well. But gorgeous, gorgeous resin to work with. And now we get messy. We are chopping up our moss. Now this moss, if anyone here is in the UK, you can get it in any craft store. It's just dried moss for crafting. And it's so widely available. But I buy mine from Baker Ross. Now, if you're in the UK, Baker Ross is an absolutely amazing tool. It's such an amazing website for craft supplies. They usually supply whole classrooms, right, here in the UK. So if you go onto Baker Ross, you can usually buy things in bulk. I think I bought a pack of 3 when I first bought this. You can buy like a pack of 30 because most classrooms in the UK have 30 children. So if you're doing like Halloween masks or Christmas trees or something like that, or wooden shapes, you can buy it in bulk, packs of 30, 60, 90, depending on how many children are in your class. I love Baker Ross. I'm assuming they're still going. I pray they're still going. But yeah, this is where I got my moss from because it's just glorious, glorious moss. Glorious moss. Whoever says that? Who says that? It's such beautiful moss. Anyway, this looks like carnage right now. Absolute carnage. But I really need you to trust the process and trust the mess on this one because it gets messy and it just looks like a whole chunk of just wet grass at this point, but you have to trust that we're gonna get that forest, beautiful, murky, gloomy. Ooh. Now I'm not putting too much in these. I'm just putting enough so that I can get it in there. I don't want to fully 100% like block out the base. I'm going to be putting another color in here, so I don't want the bottom to be 100% dark green moss, right? So I want to be able to see the blue mold through the resin. So I'm adding in some clear, and then I'm adding in a little bit more moss if I think it needs it, and then I'm adding a little bit more clear if I think it needs it. Equally, I can't afford to fill these up at this point. Like, I've still got bottles and other bits to go in. So yeah, I can't do too much. What I do need to do is make sure as much as possible that whatever I'm putting into these pendants doesn't protrude through the surface of the mold when we fill them up, right? Moss is like this moss that I use is notorious for just having these little pokey outy bits that just stick up through the surface. Now you can sort that out, you can sand it and top coat, but I'm going to do my absolute best to try to not have that happening, which is why I cut my moss up into fine dust, you know, really like fine dust, because usually there's like a branch, like a huge branch sticking out of the surface. Now I will let you into a little bit of a backstory on this. If you watch my autumn series, and you might remember me saying I did have another video. I had another video and I didn't know whether to just put the video out or just leave it and call it a day and start on Halloween, and I left it. Now the other video was very, very similar to this, using the moss and using mushroom stickers. They came out lovely, but I just didn't vibe with them. They didn't fill my heart with happiness. They didn't fill my soul at all. I felt like they were way too dark, way too much of everything, and honestly I was just itching to crack on with Halloween. So yeah, I've tried this before, and that's the problem. The moss in that video was severe. Like my moss got gangster, and it literally was like shooting out of the surfaces like the alien from Sigourney Weaver, you know, like it was so bad, and I just ran out of steam. I ran out of steam for autumn. I was just busting for Halloween. So anyway, look, back to the video. All of the bottles that fit into the pendants are going into the pendants. Some have 2, some have 3, depending on the size of the bottles. But look at the bottles. Like, the colours could not have been more forest witch, right? They've got that green, that gold, that brown, that murky. Oh, I absolutely love it. Again, trust the process. It looks like I'm a lot of nothing right now. A lot of mess. At this point, I really, really, really wanted to add keys. Like, you know, like the steampunk keys. And I barely had any left. I had about 6 or 7 keys that would work. And I was like, oh man, I need to order keys. Which, by the way, I have. And I've now got a huge bag of keys. But yeah, anywhere there's a gap, there's going to be a key. Anywhere there's a gap. Only 1 key per pendant. I'm not going wild. I'm not like, you know, going fully out there. But 1 key per pendant. It's just symbolic. It doesn't mean anything. It's a little kind of foresty, witchy thing, right? The key to the potion or the key to the spell. Who knows, right? A gorgeous little gold key in each. And again, the whole time I'm pressing things down, right? Because I'm like, that cannot be that high. You need to get down. You need to get down. So I'm literally spending the whole time pressing things back down into the mold. Now we're just placing in just some mirror glass. This is the lighter shade of mirror glass that I've recently found in my garage. Just to give it some, I guess, whimsical magic. A little bit of spellbound shimmer, you know? Just putting those in there so that when we demold, we've got some mirror reflections. Just to add to the magic. You could put anything you want, absolutely anything you want in yours. I wish at this point I put in a little bit of gold foil because, okay, spoiler alert, the huge tray that I have made with this theme, you don't want to miss it, okay? Please don't miss it. I put gold foil in that one and it is just stunning. Wish I put a little bit of gold foil in these, but I didn't know at the time, you know, guys. I didn't know I was going to fall in love. So this is what we're looking like. Like I said, absolute mess. We've got this dark green soggy moss. We've got some apothecary bottles. Some are embossed, some are not. You could put labels on there if you wanted to get super extra. You could spend time and put some apothecary labels on each of your bottles, but no, not for me. You can see here, I'm showing you the angle at which you can see the moss protruding through the surface. Now, this is not so bad. I can deal with this moss. It's too rock hard at this point to push back down, so I'm just resigning myself to the fact that I'm going to have to sand these. Okay, I'm going to have to sand them. So it's time to fill them up to my best ability. I know they're not going to be perfect because a couple of the bits are protruding out. Now, the second I pour that resin in, every single blade of grass, every single bit of that moss, sorry, not grass, it's moss, it's not a fern. Every single blade comes to life. It magnifies it. You can see it. It is absolutely wow, stunning. The camera might not be picking it up, but what was just a big congealed gloopy mess of moss, like you can actually visibly see it now. Stunning. Absolutely love. So again, just filling these up to my best ability, knowing that there might be a couple of areas that I will have to sand back. Again, look at this. Oh gosh, I absolutely love it. See the way that moss just, you can see it, like just comes to life, absolutely comes to life. And I am full on obsessed at this point. And I knew at this stage that I can't just sand one back. You know, I have to sand them all back. So this is just after I filled them up. You can see big chunks in the surface, not huge, nothing like the mushroom one I did for autumn. Like that was devastating. There's quite a few in this one where the moss is sticking out. There's one at the back, top left. There's one at bottom right. So I knew at this point that they would all need to be sanded. I can't just spend time sanding one, but look at these. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love them. I love them, love them, love them. Okay, let's move on. Come on, video, move on. Okay, this was 24 hours later and it was time to demold, and I already know they're going to need sanding. Now, this is what we're looking like at this point. It was really here that I wanted to back them anyway, but it was here that made it absolutely necessary. There was no getting around the fact that they need to be backed in a much lighter color. Otherwise, we're never gonna see what's in them, right? You put a light color behind there, you can see every single stunning detail. You put it down on a black surface, there's nothing. Literally nothing. You can just work out the bottles and that's it. You just don't get the same feeling, that foresty gloom. You don't get it, right? So on the white background again, so much more can be seen. And I decided to go a little bit radical and oh, look, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself on voiceover. So this was me trying Amanda Towgood's UVDTFs because I hadn't used them and I felt bad. And I was like, let me see if they'll work as a background. But they really wouldn't. There's no point. They're too beautiful to be hidden. So I decided to just not use them at all in this video. But they're coming. They're coming. Yeah, I knew. Look at this. Look at this. If this has got a light background, you're going to see every single little detail. Guys, we're going neon green. I'm not even playing. This is the brightest green in the Estoyo range of mica powders. It's not neon, all right? It's not neon. It's not quite lime, but it's getting towards lime green. And I figured, you know, a bright green on the backs of these will not only allow everything to be seen properly, like all the effort we've put in can be seen, but it will also tie in. I'm not just going to go and put white on the back or, you know, I'm going to put a bright green so that that dark green has something to bounce off of. Look at me trying to sound like Bob Ross, guys. I ain't got a clue. I'm just doing bright green, okay? I'm just doing bright green. I figured it would work the best. And, oh, breaking news, it does. Like, oh, gosh, guys. The difference is unbelievable. The difference between not backing these and backing these. So again, using a wooden cocktail stick to drag that resin out to the edges to make sure that everything is fully backed, and we're going to get maximum impact from this bright color. Definitely the right decision, the right choice. I just took my time and did each and every individual one. Once I had done this, it was time to just walk away again and come back again 24 hours later. Now, these all need sanding. The next priority for me before I top coat, of course, that was a silly thing to say out loud. Sorry, guys. They need sanding, but look at this. Look at this. Like, if that is not, like, wow, absolutely, that color was the right choice. It not only allows us to see everything, like I said, but it also shows up every single shade of green in that moss. And I was so in love with these at this point. It was giving Wizard of Oz, but it was also giving Forest Witch. I'm going for Forest Witch, and I was very happy that it was giving Forest Witch, Apothecary, little spells den. Like, oh, I love them so much. This is when I was like, imagine these big. Imagine these on a much bigger scale. Imagine these in a huge tray. Imagine. So that's where I got my excitement from for the next one. So this is what they're looking like. They're all scraggly around the edges, and they're all in desperate need of a resurface, and just to get all of that extra ick off before we give them their stunning top coat. And you guys know I'm going to have to be using the Let's Resin Sander machine. Now, you can sand these by hand. If you get the sheet of wet, dry sandpaper, make sure you're adding water at all times. So you can lay your sheet of wet, dry sandpaper down on your surface and then use your hand to do all of the making. For me, this is saving my hands right now. I'm having hand problems, but that's a whole other story. If you want to know more, go over to my home channel. And yeah, it's just making light work of taking back the sides and taking the surface down a notch. We're not going too wild. We're not carving right down into the bottles or the keys, but I need that moss gone. That sticky outy moss. I need that gone. That's priority. Now, this sanding machine is not the sponsor of today's video. It's nothing like that, but I'm now using this machine to sand all of my things, right? And the sanding machine itself does come with a splash guard. It's just hard to film when the splash guard is on. So if you see me put my hand up, that's why, because I was getting splashed. Lots of water though, lots and lots of water to keep the dust down. You do not want resin dust while you're sanding. You just want to keep it wet all the time, so no dust comes. I've got to do all of these now. I'm not going to pull you through that with me. I've done them. We are back. I've tried as much as possible to round off the edges, so we're getting that gorgeous rounded nugget feeling. Something about it. There's something about it, guys. It's a tactile thing for me. But before we do any more top coating, oh, here it is, fruit green. I thought I'd show you this pigment because it is so bright, it's unreal, and that makes sense now. Fruit green, right? It's the Estoyo range. It's time to back these in PVA. Now, I don't know why on this particular day I decided to use a sponge. Oh my gosh, total ag. Don't do that. Use your finger, gloved hand, whatever you've got. It's so much easier. Like, I don't know why I just decided to make life hard for myself. I do that sometimes. Like, no, you've had a really good day. Now it's time to struggle. Like, what is going on with the universe? But yes, backing each and every one of these in PVA glue. I'm telling you, it is the best. Masking tape is quicker. PVA glue is best. You get absolute foolproof coverage with PVA glue, and it doesn't run off the sides. It's PVA. Okay, here's the thing. PVA glue is quicker to apply, but then you have to wait a day for it to dry. So masking tape is quicker, as in it takes ages and ages and ages to back each and every one in masking tape and cut them out, but then you're good to go, right? So there's pros and cons to both. For me, on something like this, it's just easier to do PVA because they're circular. I'm not going to get that right. So it's time to top coat these. Now, I am using a round mould. Of course, everyone will recognize this as a molds and shapes tray mold. Just to catch, because I'm flood coating. I'm not just top coating. I am flood coating. So I'm going to... No, don't do it that way, Claire. Yeah, do it that way. Can you imagine, guys? I'm placing each and every one of my Forest Witch Apothecary pendants down onto one of these little cups, and we are going to pour the resin over the top, and we're going to flood coat each and every one to give them that gorgeous rounded nugget feeling. And look at this, guys, we've gone artistic. You know what would look good in there, but that would make it very Alice in Wonderland. Oh gosh, yes. These do look very Alice in Wonderland. Little clocks. Do you know, like a little clock face? But then that is leaning towards Alice and leaning towards steampunk. We are definitely going Witch Forest Apothecary. Look at that. The best thing about top coating is bringing the resin back to life where you have sanded it away. And oh, I love everything about this process. I figured I would zoom you in so we could all appreciate this moment together where we're bringing these back to life. Now I am just putting a little bit of resin onto each pendant at this point, and then I'm going to zoom you out and I'm going to use my heat gun to get rid of any air bubbles that was in that resin before I then top coat them again and allow that resin to pour off of the sides. So yeah, that's what I've done. Should we fast forward? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, flood coat going on now. But what I do want to do, which I didn't do a very good job at, because I've not only sanded the tops, I've sanded the sides, right? So what you really want to do then is go around with your gloved hand, making sure that the resin has touched the sides properly, that there's no gaps. But I've put all of these so close together, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it because my finger won't get through the gaps. So here I am using a micro brush tool, sped up because you don't need to sit through this in real time, it was long. Micro brush tool, dipping it in the resin, making sure that the sides of each and every single pendant have been coated in resin. And even then I missed some. So in a dream world, you really want to use a gloved hand so you can physically feel it through the glove that it's dry or it's got resin on it, you know. This is what we are looking like at this point, and I am absolutely hook, line and sinker in love with these at this stage. There is something about me, and 10 years later. Oh, I had such a sense of humour a couple of weeks ago when I made these, and I did the edit. I edited this a couple of weeks ago, today's voiceover. So obviously I was just like, this has taken 10 years. Yeah, time to peel off that glue. It comes off like an absolute dream. You do want to wait until the glue is 100%, by the way, 100% dry, and you'll know it is when it's crystal clear and it's time to top coat. You just make sure it's not wet, otherwise the resin will interfere with it. There was a couple of these here that were a bit stuck in the middle, and I couldn't quite work out why. So I don't know if that center point is just where it was stuck to the cup, and maybe it got wet. I don't know, maybe it wasn't fully dry, but I thought it was fully dry. So yeah, it's not resin in the middle, it's just wet PVA glue in the middle. So I'm wondering whether the heat, condensation from the cup all played a role. But here's the thing. This was me finishing them off. Now, I was massively doubting that this is the route I want to take. There's not enough background on these to hide your screw eyelet. It's not enough. So I'm putting down a screw eyelet into the clear areas, into the magical, mystical, foggy forest. And I don't want that. Like, how ugly now. Like, so I was like watching it thinking, no, absolutely not. I am not going to do this to each and every pendant. I'm not ruining them. What do I do then? Do I stick one of the bales? You can buy those bales that just stick on with resin. Obviously, you put them on with resin. Stick one on the back, which is probably the way forward for me, is to actually stick a bale on the back. Yeah, I just wasn't loving it. I went and did another one, though. I did this through the side. I thought, this looks quite dense. Like forest-wise. The forest is dense in this area. And I thought if I drill a hole there, through the dense forested bit, into the bottle, no one would know it's there. And that was definitely, yeah, it worked. Like, you can't really see it. Nothing like the last one. But then do you want the keyring hanging to the, like, on the side? I don't. I just don't. Yeah. So I was really, really struggling at this point to know what to do. Now, I have got bales that you can stick on the back, but I've only got them in silver. I didn't feel like silver would work. And equally, this had already taken me days and days and days. But I didn't need to worry about it because the universe answered my problems, right? I said to the universe that I just don't know. And the universe said, don't worry, I'm going to break your jewellery drill and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. I've taken the problem away from you. And to that, I say thank you to the universe, because sometimes you need it. You need that divine universal. It broke, guys. Like, I was doing everything in my power. I plugged it in, unplugged it, the plug socket, the plug, like nothing was working. So I've ordered a new one that comes today, but today is the day of the voiceover, like 2 weeks after this video was filmed. Yeah, so there we have it. We stopped. So what would you guys do with these? A big chunky magnet on the back, I think, is where I'm going to go, to be honest with you guys. I need to buy some decent, strong magnets, because the last ones I bought were like 3M magnets and they just didn't hold anything. What's the point in having a magnet that literally holds nothing up on the fridge? So yeah, any recommendations for magnets, please put them down in the comment section down below. I want big chunky beast of a magnet. Like, a magnet so strong it could hold like 3 or 4 pieces of paper to my fridge. Yeah, so that is where I'm going with these. They have to be fridge magnets. They're just too pretty to drill into, and they're too pretty to not be seen on a daily basis, in my eyes anyway. Guys, I cannot wait for you to see the big version of this. Like, I went all in. I chucked it all in. We're talking keys, gold foil, stones, you name it. It's all going in there. My only regret now is that I didn't put in any dried leaves, because I think that would have absolutely been the most spectacular project I've done this year. I hope you love it. Thank you so much for your support on my Halloween series so far. I really, really appreciate you all. And I will see you all in the next video.